payments for our transactions. So I can't imagine I'm buying tomato at the market and I'm transferring money to Yalata. I don't know how that's going to work out, but they're insisting that 31st is sacrosanct. Well, so help us in this country. All right, and so many things for us to talk about. Also, majority of the state houses of assembly have rejected local government autonomy. That's another one that's actually trending across the papers this morning. I don't know if we should be worried. I don't know why it's such a big deal for the governors or I think it's the governors that influenced. Well, I'm not supposed to think. I'm just here supposed to give information. But then are the governors influencing the state houses of assembly as regards that particular one? Because you need 24 out of all 36, and when you now have almost 20 something state houses saying no, we don't want it, then that's out of it for amendment. Well, so many things to talk about this morning. I look forward to having the conversation with you by 8:40, when we will be opening up the phone line for you to join in on the conversation. In the meantime, my name still remains Omobola Sandra, and I have Fuhad Sahid joining in via the phone line as we take us look through the trending stories on the papers. Good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I don't know how I'm doing yet. I will let you know. I'll let you know before the end of the day. But I don't know how I'm doing yet. But let's see what we have across the papers. I'll start with the Guardian newspaper this morning. Now, the major headline on the front page of the Guardian says, Old Naira notes, CBN insists on January 31st deadline. Sean's calls for extension. And there are riders to that. Deny scarcity of new notes. Senate urges CBN to soft pedal. Reps seeks review of daily withdrawal limits. I think that one has sailed though. I don't know why we are still going back to that one. Undume, as a senator, I haven't seen new notes. What? Is that possible?
Sorry?
Is that possible?
Why not? If who are we to question whether he has seen it or not? If he says he has not seen it, it's possible. We'll assume that but again, it might just be a statement to show that indeed the note is not really in circulation. I'll still say that I don't know where the CBN governor is getting this information from. I guess it's a bit detached from reality. And the reality is that the notes are not well circulated as we speak. That's just the fact. That's just the reality on ground. The notes are not well circulated. A lot of the ATMs are still dispensing the old notes. I was still at the bank yesterday to make some deposits, and a lot of people that came for cash withdrawals were still giving the old notes. So I don't know where his information is coming from, and I assume it's maybe because he just returned from a vacation. He's taking some time to get to a full grasp of the reality on ground. And I think we should just calm down, get proper briefing, maybe probably go on spot assessment of the situation of things, and then make an informed decision. The grandstanding of no turning back on the deadline for me is unnecessary. I think we should just take his time to check really and understand the situation of things.
But if you look at it thoroughly, for the CBN to insist on this deadline, I think it's only fair that they come forward and say, okay, see, the reason why we are insisting on this is because we printed 1,000 notes. We distributed 900 notes. So why are the banks insisting they don't have it? The banks should come forward and tell us why they don't have it. I think that will just make it easier for everyone to understand why CBN is insisting. Or what do you think?
Because again, that's just the reasonable thing, because Nigerians are ready to spend the new notes if they are available. And the easiest way to get the notes, Sandra, is at the banks, at the dispensing machines, the automated teller machines, and all of those things. But if you still go to the banks, yesterday I was still at the bank, like I told you, half of the people that came, in fact, what they were even doing was the deposit I made, part of the money I deposited had the new notes. So they were even taking from the new notes and giving it to customers right on the spot there. So they themselves don't even have the new notes, well, I assume, because they were so eager to collect my own new note to give to customers. And then others were being given the old notes right in the bank there. So I don't know, like I said, look, Up till now, the CBN has not even told us how much of the new notes they printed, what the distribution pattern they've adopted. And if it was only yesterday that we got information that they are engaging 5 banks for cash swap, and the details of the cash swap we don't even have it, then you know that this idea, I think about 7 days to the deadline. How does he want to do that when the notes are not in proper circulation? If the senator is saying he has not even seen the new notes.
Yeah.
So I assume that he would eventually cave in. It's not even about caving. It's just about accepting the reality that the implementation of this new noting has failed, and he has to just take responsibility and maybe shift the date forward.
Well, what we have here is that a representative of the CBN is saying, or Emefiele himself, speaking on the new notes, is saying that they are not going to shift the deadline, and he's saying, my apologies, it doesn't see any reason or feel that there's any reason to shift the deadline. Reason being,
the man just returned from vacation.
Reason being that he's saying, and I'm quoting now, we feel 100 days should be enough for those who have the old currency to deposit the money in the banks, and we took every measure to ensure that all the banks were open to receive all old currencies. 100 days, we believe, is more than adequate. That is what the CBN governor is saying. That, you remember that, they said that banks should be open till, Sunday for deposits only, if you want to make your deposit and all of that. So that's the argument.
Sandra, the problem with the CBN governor and his team is they are more concentrated on people who have cash at home who want to return it to the bank. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who go into the banks to get cash and they are still being given the old note. That's what I'm saying now. I don't have any cash at home that I'm keeping for, and all of that. Yes, for people who have this large amount of cash at home, yes, 100 days is enough to take it to the bank. But what if in a situation where, okay, I need just 50,000 naira, and I go to the bank today, and of course I need it for maybe some little payments, some cash payments and all of that, like you said now. Would I go to Yalata and say I'm going to transfer to her? Say, for example, okay, for the whole month, for the next 30 days, I need a cash of like 100,000 naira just to do some small payments, petty shopping and all of that. And I go to the bank today now, and they give me the old note. What am I supposed to do? To return it to them?
All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, I do.
Sometimes some of those kids don't keep large cash at home, but you need this small cash for some petty things and all of that. If I go into the bank today now, Sandra, and I say, okay, I need 100,000 naira cash for some daily transactions, some petty things, and they give me the old note, what am I supposed to do?
If the bank
rejects it,
the bank that is supposed to be the one that is supposed to give you the cash. All right, so what we have now is Huriwa is saying that the CBN should learn from the UK. So you know that in the UK, yes, they've printed notes with King Charles III face on it. Yes, they've printed coins with his face on it. But the ones with Queen Elizabeth's face has not, been made illegal.
It's still a legal tender, yeah.
It is still a legal tender until it is phased out, meaning that
gradually
you keep paying it into the bank. They keep giving you the new ones. You keep paying into the bank. Until it's phased out. Not that one day they just wake up and say, okay, nobody should,
100 days or return all the old dollars, and then it becomes again. We understand that they are trying to tackle issues of people who probably have collected ransom, who have kept this cash, or maybe politicians who have stocked money for the elections. Our own peculiarity may be a bit different from that of the UK. But the thing is, the implementation is a bit faulty. That's what we are saying. They've not been able to really implement it properly. It would have been easy if indeed by now all teller machines, all banks, you go in there, they are all giving you notes. That's what we are seeing. But I'm telling you the reality. I was still at the bank yesterday. They were giving out the old notes.
All right. Well, that is the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. CBN is insisting on January 31st deadline. Sean's calls for extension, even as the two chambers, both legislative, upper and lower, they're saying that are calling for extension of the deadline. We'll see how it turns out. More details on page 6 of the Guardian. Moving on now, we also have here, expect earlier than normal onset of rainfall and floods in 2023. NIMET is warning, and that's on page 3. I think this is I think this time, or I hope that this time we actually take this seriously. The rains came on Sunday. Rain fell on Sunday. Okay. And as it is now, there's already, warning coming from different agencies and whatnot, especially Nigeria Meteorological Agency, NIMET, warning Nigerians to prepare for earlier than normal onset of rainfall in most parts of the country. And this shows that the earliest onset will likely occur on around March 2nd in the coastal zone of the south states, while onset of rainfall in the inland cities of the south will likely be in April. Onset of rainfall in the central states is likely to be in May, and the agency is predicting that most states, Katsina, Zamfara, Kano, Jigawa, Yobe, Cross River, Ebonyi, Imo rivers will likely experience delayed onset of rainfall, while some other parts like Lagos will be near normal. So many things that, it's good that, they're separating this by states. They're not just saying, the south part, the southeast part. They're saying specifically which states should prepare for earlier onset, which states to prepare for, a delayed one, which states to prepare for normal one. But with what experience in the past, do you think that any of our government officials or authorities are still going to work with these warnings?
I doubt it, Sandra.
Even with what happened last year with the flood situation and all of that?
We are in a country where we don't really learn from some of these things. And I'll tell you why I doubt if these governments are going to pay attention to these things, or the government generally. This is an election year. I can tell you that all their focus, their mind now is on the elections. Yes, the elections will end in March. And I'm sure that that's enough distraction for them not to pay attention to these things. The forecast, yes, it's a forecast, but it is supposed to be about now, what we are supposed to be doing now. Opening up our drainage systems, maybe channeling some of our drainages into the lagoon, clearing the canals as we speak, probably even building new storm drainage systems across the city. And all of these things will take months to put in place. Or probably even evacuate people now into higher places. This is the time to begin to prepare for the rains that will come. Sometimes you don't even need this forecast to begin to prepare for it. It's going to come, definitely. The rains are going to come. Whether the dams will be filled up, they're going to be opened up, if it's going to lead to more flooding, this is the reality of nature at work, and we need to just get ourselves prepared. The worry for me is, one would have expected the State House of Assembly to get proactive about these things and begin to talk to their governors about the ecological fund. What are you doing with those monies? I think in the last 6 or 7 years, the federal government said they released over 1 trillion naira to different states from the ecological fund. Yeah. I think in the budget this year, I think about 400 or something billion has been budgeted to distribute to governors as part of the ecological funds. Those funds are supposed to help flood-prone areas, issues of natural disaster, gully erosion, and some of these things. But as we know it, I don't think any of the governors have been able to properly account for these funds. It's unfortunate. I just think that maybe people should take their destinies in their hands. Communities, LCDAs, communities, CDAs, and all of that can come together and begin to look at ways, to mitigate the effect of the flooding that would eventually definitely come, whether we like it or not. The rains are going to come early. The predictions are already, the forecasts are already here.
All right, more details on page 3. Moving on now, we also have Dangote Refinery not part of projects for Buhari's commissioning, and that's on page 3. So that's, I guess that's some sort of clarification as regards what the president was here to commission or to inaugurate.
Commission the project,
yes, because I know the conversation happened sometime yesterday, and they said, why is the president coming to inaugurate? Moving on. All right.
The project. The project he came for are clear, and I think the only one that is not completely completed is the rail lines. And like I said, I think they just wanted to excite the president more, and they made him ride on it.
Okay, but what we have now is that Dangote Industries Limited itself has clarified that the president will actually, yes, commission the refinery project, but that will be done before he leaves office in May 2023, and that the public will be informed and invited to the event. This was a statement that was signed in, and this is just to clear the air on reports suggesting that the president commissioned the refinery during his 2-day visit to Lagos State in recent times. So that's
his visit was well captured. So the Dangote refinery was not one of the places he visited. So.
All right, moving on, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we also have IPC seeks safety for journalists ahead of the 2023 polls. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Very important.
Yes. So as the 2023 general elections draw closer, International Press Center, IPC, has said about 250 journalists who covered the 2019 polls were molested and attacked in the course of discharging their lawful duties on election day. So, in light of that, the organization is therefore stressing the need for reporters to be provided with protective wears, including bullet-resistant vests, ahead of the polls.
Bullet-proof, eh? Bullet-resistant vest?
Yes.
Well,
they are going far.
No, well, I think protection for journalists is important, especially with the level of insecurity that we have now. I can imagine what our colleagues that are working in states like Imo, the Southeast generally, what they'll be facing, what they'll be exposed to, the dangers they'll be exposed to. I can also imagine the North, the Northwest, Zamfara, Kaduna State, Southern Kaduna, for example. I can imagine what some of our colleagues would have to face to be able to bring reports and news to people. So I agree with the International Press Center that, protective vests, and I think, the instinct of our journalists too, well, that's one of the trainings we get to, how to be able to spot danger, how to protect yourself, and all of that. We part of the training that most media houses would have to give to their reporters who be in the field, giving reports of the elections. But I agree that the government should also, I think INEC has started registration. They're working with some media houses and seeing how all of these things could be done. But indeed, the protection and the safety of journalists at the time should be taken seriously.
Well, just as you have said, should be taken seriously because, one thing is for one thing for journalists to be professional, to be ethical in discharging their duties. It's another thing for the environment to be conducive for them to be able to do just that. Even because the report is that even people that were accredited in the 2019, they were accredited, they had their tags, they had their vests and all of that, but they were still assaulted and molested. So hopefully, we sincerely hope that INEC would also be looking into that.
But Sandra, we still have to do our job. We'll be in the field doing our job, whether we like it or not.
It's occupational hazard.
Yeah.
We still have to do it. People will sit at home and be expecting to hear, get information. So who's going to do that?
Real-time reports on the election. So, man.
Yes, and one thing that I'm sure of is Mainland FM is gearing up in full gear for that particular one. So everyone can be rest assured that Mainland FM will be providing
hour by hour reports on the election from the field.
Real-time information, yes. All right, moving on, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Buhari keeps mum, commissions Blue Line Rail and J. Randall Center. So when you say the president kept mum, as regards what exactly? What's he supposed to say? So let's see what we have in the report. What we have is that but they say he keeps mum, meaning that he was silent about something. And I'm like, he's here to commission. What were they expecting him to say? Because some people are arguing that the president could not speak at the two events after arriving very late, owing to his participation at the APC campaign in Bauchi. And he said he did not say anything. And he also did the same thing during the commission of the J. Randall Center for Yoruba Culture and History and the Blue Line Rail, that he didn't make any speech. So he was supposed to give a speech and say, "Oh wow, Governor of Lagos State, you've done so well." I don't know what.
It doesn't have to give a speech. Commissioning could just be about cutting the ribbon and then of course,
smiling and going.
We are not in his schedule. We are not the ones planning some of these trips for them. He has to make a speech. I don't think so. The most important for his host of Lagos State was that he was present and he had seen some of the projects they wanted him to see and commission. That's the news. Whether he needed to say something, I don't know what people are expecting him to say. Or if journalists could have been allowed to speak with him and maybe ask him some questions. If, for example, I was at that event as a journalist, I would have been asking him about the issue of the fuel gas as Minister of Petroleum.
Are you saying maybe that's why he didn't, say
allow
anything?
Journalists to speak with him?
Yeah, because what we have in the report is that many guests and journalists waited for hours and they left without hearing the president speak to them. I was watching the event itself, yesterday, I think on Channels TV, and, when watching it, it seemed like, the actor was waiting for something, the guests, because they were still seated, despite the fact that the president was already in his car driving off, and then we still saw guests, they were still seated, probably they were waiting for something, and then that thing happened, and then maybe one by one, everybody just picked their bags and left. So, but that's a problem, or that's an issue for some people. They're arguing that he should have said something, especially with the fact that he came late to one of the two events. Well, that's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. I'm very certain that a Guardian correspondent was there, and he was he felt very bad that he was there for hours and he didn't get anything. All right.
He still had to file in his report, which was the fact that the president is saying.
So he kept mum, exactly. All right, moving on. Buhari appoints Arase as PSC boss amid for over IGP's tenure elongation. So what we have in that on that particular one, it's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Amid ongoing face-off between the Inspector General of Police, that's Usman Alkali Baba, and the Police Service Commission over the tenure elongation of Baba, President Buhari yesterday forwarded the name of former IGP Solomon Arase to the Senate for confirmation as the new PSC chairman. Okay. And I said the appointment, of course, is in accordance with the provision of Section 1541 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So, Arase, if confirmed by the Senate, will replace the former chairman of the commission, Musliu Smith, as a substantive chairman. Okay, so whatever is happening between the PSC and the IGP or the IGP's office seems to be getting even more interesting. So, we had some information, or we had a report some weeks ago, or 2 weeks or a week ago, that the IGP was supposed to retire by March, which is in between the election season, and that the election was going to be affected by his retirement. I don't know if you remember that report.
Yeah, and the president didn't want that to happen. So
he extended his it was thinking of extending his tenure so that there won't be any disruption as regards security during the elections, because the governorship election will still be pending as at that time. All right. So in view of that, because the PSC, is actually working with senior officials that are supposed to be retiring soon. So here we now have that because the PSC is insisting that anybody that's supposed to retire, their tenure won't be extended. Now here we have the president is is changing the chairman of the PSC.
And they can't even overrule the president on this. I think
if the Senate approves, then Musliu leaves.
It's as simple as that. So I don't know. I think we should just be about processes and some of the ego war, or what I call infighting between the IG and the PSC. There are still these issues of 10,000 constables that were employed. Up to now, they don't have a letter of employment. There's a back and forth between the IG and the PSC, whether they submitted the names or who should even employ them in the first place. And I said, look, the constitution is very clear. The Police Service Commission employs the police because the employment letter has to come from them. But again, these are some of the things you see in this particular government, and you wonder the kind of mode of operation, how they are able to, properly follow processes and lay down procedures. But it's within the right of the president to change the head of the Police Service Commission, subject to the approval from the Senate. And if that happens, Musliu Smith will leave, and then Arase comes in. But my own concern again is this: why do we always have former IGs heading the Police Service Commission? That may be the reason why there's always this clash of personalities and ego war and, all of those kind of things. Why not? Somebody who has never been a policeman can head the Police Service Commission. It's supposed to be an administrative role, Well, it can be a lawyer. It can be somebody who is vast. Must it be ex-IGs or former policemen that should head the Police Service Commission?
All right, but as it is now, there are concerns that there are a lot of DIGs, a lot of AIGs, a lot of CPs and other senior police officers who are actually up for retirement, and some people are concerned if this would affect the polls as it is now, which is coming up with this conversation now. And we also have the fact that the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, that's HURIWA, is alleging that the nomination of Arase as PSC chairman was facilitated by IGP Baba and Minister
because he doesn't like Will Smith.
And Minister of Justice Malami. Malami is always he's back in this picture. Was facilitated by IGP Baba and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, to forestall moves by PSC commissioners to defend the constitutional independence of PSC. So that is the allegation that HURIWA is putting forward. There's so many things as regards this, whether or not PSC is supposed to be independent. When I say independent now, I think they're looking at independent as regards making decisions as regards the police service. They should be independent,
yes. And in fact, Sandra, they should be the ones employing policemen. I asked, even the IG himself, his letter of employment is from where?
It's the PS from PS. That's why I'm now coming back to what you were saying as regards why ex-IG is always the one being appointed as PSC chairman. So if ex-IGs are the one appointed, then they should know better. Why is it that then they get there and then they are tackling the IG?
The issue of personality clash now. I was a former IG. I was IG before you. I know these things before you. You were my junior. I knew when you came into the police. Kind of. So that's what I'm saying. That must be former IGs heading the Police Service Commission. It can be a lawyer. Can be somebody. It's just an administrative role, I assume. To run the affairs of the police from the back end. But again, it is what it is. These are some of the things we see, and we just wonder how people are able to follow procedure and processes.
All right, more details on page 6. And finally, federal government restates COVID-19 travel protocol. More countries restrict Chinese travelers. That's on page 18. That's what we have from the Guardian newspaper. Now we're moving on very quickly to the Nation newspaper. Let's see what we have trending on that page. The Nation. The major headline is Senators, Reps draw battle line with CBN over Naira notes. And there are riders to that. Lawmakers seek 6-month extension. Tuesday deadline, sacrosanct. Apex Bank insists. So still on the new Naira notes.
This Saturday, Alexander. I will wait.
Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
31st.
I was hoping for Saturday.
No. In weekend. Why are you doing this? What? All right, but then
you have the notes that you don't have. I don't think you should be bothered.
How much do I have? I don't even have money, so it never affects me.
But we'll see what happens on Tuesday.
We'll see what happens. Not on Tuesday. We'll see what happens on Wednesday, 1st of February. It's going to be an interesting one. Yes, it's going to be an interesting one. So, whether or not the legislative will be able to win against the CBN governor, we'll see how things will turn out.
I don't think it's the legislature. It's the people against the CBN government. It doesn't just want to accept reality.
So Nigerians versus.
I think it's still recalibrated. He's just back from vacation.
So we should chill.
Calm down and listen to people.
All right. More details on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Moving on, we also have Wike. We won't campaign for Atiku. That's on page 5. I don't know why I read that loud. What did it say?
Yourself. Right? That's from the Nation newspaper, I assume.
That's from the Nation newspaper. I don't know why I read that out loud like that. But that's what it says here. We won't campaign for Atiku. Wike insists. The Rivers State governor yesterday at ongoing campaigns in the state for candidates of the PDP precludes the presidential candidate of the opposition. Wait, how is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the opposition in a state that is run by the PDP? I don't understand this caption.
Sorry?
Should I read it again?
Read it again, please. I missed that. Sorry.
Rivers State Governor clarified yesterday, Nyesom Wike, that ongoing campaigns in the state for candidates of the PDP precludes the presidential candidate of the opposition party. Oh, okay. Now I understand how that works. That's Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So the governor said members of Rivers State PDP Campaign Council will not campaign for Atiku because there was no understanding to warrant such support in the oil-rich state.
Atiku has his own people campaigning for him, and strong members of the PDP too. I have to say that. Very strong members of the PDP. I think Celestine Umeha is there, sorry. So many of them, strong members of the PDP. And I think that's what Atiku wants to do, and assume the national body of the PDP. What they've done is that in these 5 states, they set up their own structures, to campaign for them. And again, so that we don't waste too much time on these Wike things.
Yeah, so moving on from that, Wike also said that the state APC should also not bother to campaign in Rivers because of the recognition that was given to his administration by President Muhammadu Buhari as the best in infrastructural delivery in the country. So he's saying, I'm taking this from this.
That President Buhari has endorsed him, Abi, and his candidate.
That he did well, so they should not bother. So we are okay.
Yeah, but it's not on the ballot again. Wike is not on the ballot again. So somebody else is contesting.
Well, that is what Wike is saying, and that's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Governor Abdul Razak sacks provost. That's Kwara State, Abdul Razak, that's Kwara State. All right, that's supposed to be on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. All right, I found it. So Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak has sacked the acting provost of the College of Education in Ilorin, Dr. Jimo Ayinla. And this person has been acting as the provost for 20 months, and he has been replaced with the chief imam of the college mosque, Dr. Shehu Jawando. The new provost is expected to act for 3 months before the appointment of a substantive provost. That's what's trending, or that's what's happening in Kwara State. Moving on, that's on page 5. We also have on the front page of the Nation how Amosun increased Ogun IGR. That's also on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. And what we have is that former Ogun State Governor Senator Ibikunle Amosun has received commendation for increasing the state monthly IGR from 700 million naira to 7 billion naira. So, in a tribute to celebrate the former governor, a chartered accountant, Mr. Olasukomi Ogunyomade, hailed Amosun for creating wealth, employment, prioritizing the development of schools, and upgrading hospitals. Okay? For the people of Ogun State, that's up to you to make a decision on whether or not.
So after increasing the IGR, how has that translated to development in Ogun State?
Thank you very much.
State is still one of the states in the southwest with a lot of bad roads.
Terrible roads. But we have a very fine gate.
A fine gate into a bad road. I don't know how that works.
That's on page 5. Moving on, why we boycotted PDP senatorial rally in Ondo. That's on page 5 also of the Nation newspaper, and that's coming from the lawmaker representing Ondo South, Senator Nicholas Tofowomo, has explained why he and some leaders of the PDP boycotted the party's senatorial rally launch at Okitipupa, and he said he was not informed about the rally, neither was he carried along, so he did not go.
Let the politicians just sort their problem. Either they inform him or not, they should go and when the politicians come up with these things, But since the brokers are reporting it and reviewing the paper, it's fine. And I don't know why some of these even make the headlines anyway, the front page headlines. But let's just move on.
Moving on, we also have here legislature, judiciary, autonomy bills ready for Buhari's assent. So what we have is that if President Buhari assents to a set of constitution amendment bills that's about to be sent to him by the Senate, Houses of Assembly, Houses of Assembly and Judiciary in the 36 states will receive their financial allocations directly from the Federation account. So that is finally happening. We have always had that conversation as regards judicial autonomy, in the country. So, and also state houses will also be receiving their financial allocations directly from that. However, local government financial and administrative autonomy bills is missing from the list, as it did not get the nod of 2/3 of the 36 state houses of assembly. So,
well, I think the report is what it is. The state houses of assembly getting their money directly, the judiciary getting their money directly, but I don't know why governors wouldn't want to hand off, the monies of the local government. Again, we've done a lot of reports on the fact that the local government in Nigeria have been stifled. They are non-existent. What you have are just people who are appendages of the governors. They are like placeholders for the governors. That's the reality. Most of the chairmen that you see, or chairpersons as they may be called, are just merely placeholders. And that's why you ask an average person, what's the impact of the local government in the area? They can't even say. They are not doing anything that you can say, okay, this is what the local government is doing. And would you want to blame them? No. Have we not reviewed papers where a certain chairman said, look, I signed for 100 million, I be how much every month, and I get 3 million naira.
Well, the Deputy Senate President, that's Ovie Omoagege, who is chairing the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Review of the Constitution, in a veiled attack on governors, he said, and I'm quoting, "What matters to us, which is the priority to us, which is a big priority to Mr. President, is this issue of local government autonomy. And that's where we are having challenges. And that is because of the position. That's because of the position of some governors who believe that they should not be in support of this." So it's a major priority to them up there, but then
even the president, remember now, Sandra, that there was a time the president gave an executive order that directly from the federation account, local government should be paid directly, because he had been trying to see how it can, you go through the legislative process to get it done. So at the point, I think it was advised, okay, you have an executive order. These governors, unanimously, all of them, went to court, and they fought the case in the Supreme Court until they got a ruling from the Supreme Court to say that it should not happen. So the governors are the only governor that gave a directive to the federal government that look, pay the local government directly in my state. He says El-Rufai, Kaduna State. So are you now surprised why the state assembly are not in support of local government autonomy? Because the governors have them as their appendix. Like I said, most of the chairmen, local government, okay, there are even governors who don't even conduct local government elections. They just simply appoint theoretical chairman there. So what happened now is, apart from the state allocations, the pocket, they have now seen another one to easily pocket, which is the money for the local government. They misuse it, they do it anyhow, and so you want to create those grassroots development. Because most of the people that you have there, the little that comes to them, they will pocket the rest as well.
All right. Well, more details on page 4 as regards the petition. I think there's some other extensive details in other papers as regards local government autonomy. Now, above the masthead of The Nation, we have here, tribunal fixes Friday for verdict in Oyetola versus Adeleke. That's Osun State. So we'll get to know by Friday. Now, that's on page 6. We also have here, President heads 14-man panel to end petrol crisis. We have a panel that's been set up to end petrol crisis. The president is in Senegal for agriculture conference.
It's not even about English.
No, I'm just giving updates because I'm a good person.
I gave you you remember I gave you an analogy about the Nigerian politician and the way we do things and our leadership in Nigeria. That when there is a problem and the leadership is not interested in solving that problem, but they want to deceive you to believe that they want to solve that problem, what do?
They set up panels.
They set up a panel or a committee. That's my comment on this.
That's all. Moving on. All right. So what we have is that the president yesterday moved to end the lingering scarcity of fuel in the country by setting up a steering committee directly headed by him. So the 14-member committee with Minister of State for Petroleum Resource, Chief Temipre Silva, as the alternate chairman, is to ensure transparent, efficient supply and distribution of petroleum products, especially fuel, nationwide. And the committee is also to guarantee proper management of national strategic stock, rehabilitation of the nation's refined. Okay. Well, more details on page 5.
You get tired of it, reading it. Should I repeat what I said, or you got me from what I said?
I've gotten the information. It's okay.
So when you want to just, so I don't say we don't do anything. Just set up committee to be running up and down. Okay, what is this committee going to do now? What are they going to do?
To rehabilitate our refineries.
And then adequate distribution of fuel. Yes. Are we joking?
Moving
so
on.
The president is okay. Let's just go. Let's just don't let us get overworked.
Yes, it's okay. It's all right because nothing will happen from the 40. We had a third set. See, let's move on.
You understand the committee thing now?
Abia to enjoy export hub status, says Tinubu. APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu yesterday unfolded his industrialization plan for Abia State. Acknowledging the commercial prowess of the southeast state, he said the plan will transform Abia into a major exporter of manufactured goods. And this is coming from the presidential campaign train rolled up in Umahia, the state capital of Abia State. See how that turns out. That's on page 4. Finally, from the Nation newspaper, retire if you are due. PSC orders DIGs and AIGs. So PSC is still on that one. That's on page 6. Ends in the papers. We're looking through trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. Now, the major headline on the front page of the Punch: new Naira deadline. Kano, Ondo, Anambra depositors flood banks with old notes. The riders to that: CBN shuns National Assembly, insists on January 31st cash swap deadline. EFCC, ICPC won't arrest huge depositors. Emefiele assures bank coins. That's on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. We also have on the front page of the Punch: Labour knocks governors as states reject local government autonomy. That's on page 2. Also on the front page of the Punch, traders lament as Okowa shuts markets for Atiku. So the Atiku Okowa campaign train also rolled into Delta State yesterday, and traders lament.
I saw the campaign and it was just.
It was interesting. It was okay.
It was just more of comedy of error.
Did you see Dino Mila? Did you see Dino Mila?
I want to talk about Dino Mila now. I think they should look for somebody else to take you for them.
I don't know.
As the MCO, I don't know the role he plays at that rally, but in the body of a child. I'm sorry to go hard on him.
Well, for those who are wondering what we are talking about, maybe you should go watch the video. Because I mean that was totally unnecessary. We don't have so much time. We would have gone deeper, but more details on page 57 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, from the Punch: interest rate hike, job losses, crisis loom, warns OPS. Of course, I think that's a given. All right, still on front pages of our dailies. Finally, we'll look through Vanguard newspaper as we begin to wrap things up on trends in the papers. Major headline on the front page of Vanguard: NAS, CBN battle over old Naira notes deadline. And the writers to that: Senate asks CBN to extend deadline to July 31st. Reps angry, invite banks CEOs today. Once deadline extended to June. January 31st deadline for old notes remains, says CBN Governor Emefiele. Family rejects old Naira notes as bride price in Niger State.
Ah! Which family is that? In what state?
Do you know? What do you want to go and do for?
Is it possible to pay a fake bride price and you pay fake? Voila.
They rejected old Naira notes as bride price in Niger.
Okay, the old Naira notes, of course. I'll reject it if I'm a member of that family. I'll reject.
What do you want us to do with it? So that's on page 9, by the way. Family rejects.
So they won't allow the guy to marry.
No. That marriage has.
Go and look for a new note.
Come back with new notes, and you marry your bride. That's on page 9, by the way. We also have here restriction of Okada Keke. Court dismisses suit against Lagos State government. That's on page 10. And finally, on the front page of Vanguard, we have here Constitution Review. National Assembly bows to governors as state assemblies reject local government autonomy. That is all we have trending across the papers this morning. We'll be back by 8:40 to open up the phone line and have a get a broader perspective from you, the listener, as regards what we will be focusing on by then, or which I would introduce also by then. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. This is